Most people start their days off by waking up to the sounds of birds chirping, the smell of fresh, crisp air, and a drive listening to their favorite podcast. But I like to start my days off with waking up to the beautiful sounds of emergency sirens, inhaling the wonderful aromas of hopefully dog urine, and tripping over scooters as I sprint to catch the bus. And I love it. For a little life update, I started a new job. Thank you. Apparently $30 a month from AdSense wasn't enough to buy my way out of the corporate rat race, so we make do. The details of the job is not super important, but what is important is the fact that this new job is hybrid, and it's based in the suburbs. But I live in the city, specifically the city of Seattle. This is a bit of a unique situation because usually jobs force people to relocate from more affordable areas and move closer to like a more expensive big city. So in my case, wouldn't you think that this would be the perfect opportunity to get the fuck out of the hustle and bustle of a big city and move to like a more quieter, calmer suburban life? And to add even more fuel to the fire, my daily commute is 2 hours a day round trip. But I'm actually okay with it. And no, it's not because I hate my wife and kids and I want to stay away from them as long as possible. Like, I know that's a reason for some of y'all. So hear me out. I'm still in my 20s. Settling down is really not on the agenda yet. Like getting married, having kids, buying a house. In this economy, at this age, that's like fast tracking my life to a midlife crisis. So you know what is on the agenda? Chaos. My body can still withstand nights of silly decisions, and there's a lot more opportunity to make some silly decisions in a bustling environment like a city. Living in a city means that I can eat whatever I want, I can buy whatever I want, and if I really wanted to, I could build a new life without having to change my address. So in this stage of my life, you couldn't pay me enough to move out of the city. Okay, I'm lying. There is a number out there, but trust me, I make nowhere near that number, so I don't see myself making that move anytime in the nearby future at least. I'm fortunate enough to live in a neighborhood that is very walkable. One that I would even consider as a 15-minute city. If you're unfamiliar with the term, a 15-minute city is an urban planning concept in which most daily necessities and services such as work, shopping, education, healthcare, and leisure can easily be reached with a 15-minute walk, bike ride, or public transit ride away from any point in the city. The main goal of a 15-minute city is to reduce car dependency and promote healthy and more sustainable living while improving well-being and quality of life for city dwellers. Even though the concept is relatively new, the practice has existed in civilization for a while, even in the US. Back in the day, actually not even, less than 100 years ago, cities were built with people in mind. These cities had characteristics like narrow unpaved streets, tramways, and mixed-use buildings that served as retail spaces at the base and residential for the upper floors. Like there was actually a point in time where US streets were European flavored. But after World War II, soldiers that came home from overseas were given fat and juicy loans from the GI Bill, which let them build pretty modest homes, not to mention the economic prosperity that would last for decades to come. The first true American suburb that was ever built was Levittown, New York, in 1947. And this was a blueprint for more suburbs to start popping up all across the country. Then Big Auto came around and said, hey, hear me out. What if, instead of using our feet to get around places, we used wheels? Then, bada bing, bada vroom, the US has accelerated into the car era. And trust me, this is going to be a very, very long ride. Now people equipped with new whips could easily drive into the city for work and play, and then at the end of the day, they can just drive back home into their quiet suburban neighborhood to go to sleep. The suburb was a luxury, and the absence of density was what signified it. And this is what the suburbs came to symbolize: wealth and separation. Which is kind of ironic to think about because now living in the city is considered the rich thing to do. Anyways, the single-family home surrounded by a white picket fence in the suburbs became the American dream. Far away from community, far away from work, far away from fun. And if you ask me, they did one hell of a job marketing the suburbs as endgame because there are so many people sold on the idea that that's the best way to live life. A lot of people have actually experienced and oftentimes reminisce about the period of life where they spent living in a 15-minute city. It's college. The layout of a campus is usually a walkable, mixed-use community where it's easy to meet up with friends in random nooks and buildings, get food at the dining hall, go to sleep in the dorms, or let's be real, class, study at the library, and most of the time it's within a 15-minute walk on campus. But even outside of the college experience, thousands of people will happily spend a good chunk of change just to have a taste of what a 15-minute city could be like. Walking over 15,000 steps a day, going from place to place, patronizing retail, restaurants, bars, and other leisure activities, and then walking to your bed for the night. Think like your Disney parks and cruise ships. Now, not all of Seattle would fit under the classification of a 15-minute city, just some of the more denser neighborhoods. I personally pay a premium to live where I do, which is slightly more than the average apartment in Seattle, but this affords me the luxury of being able to live near the places and things that I actually want to live by. Like within a few block radius, I could just wake up and walk to a brand new coffee shop by my apartment, then walk over to my gym to get a little workout in. And then within my gym, I can get a haircut. Like I literally did this like a couple weeks ago, and then walk over to a cute little thrift store and go shopping with a friend who also lives nearby. And then on my walk back home, I can stop by like a couple grocery stores to pick up food for the week. Like this is a priceless experience. And the only real downside for me is that work is far away, but that's more than made up for with all the benefits of living in a dense neighborhood. With all of that being said, sometimes I do like to imagine what it would be like living in the suburbs, because first of all, city living is not for everyone. And second of all, at least based off of housing prices, the suburbs does seem a lot cheaper to live in than the city. But every mental simulation I have always points me back to why living in the city makes way more sense. And here are some of the reasons. Oftentimes, people forget about the hidden costs of living in the suburbs, with the main money sink being transportation. Unfortunately, good public transit in the suburbs isn't really common in the US, so having a car becomes a necessity. Car ownership is not cheap. Outside of the price of the car, there are other things you have to factor in, like car tabs, insurance, gas, regular maintenance, and parking. On average, owning a car costs $12,000 annually, according to research put out by AAA. And don't get me wrong, having a car is a lot more convenient than not. Like it'll cut back on commuting time, so that time could be spent elsewhere. Like that saved time could be spent driving to the grocery store, driving to the gym, driving to the movie theater, and most importantly, driving home faster so I can spend all of that saved time, I don't know, probably scrolling on my phone or something. But it's also worth mentioning that the last time I've driven a car was like 5 years ago, so the idea of getting behind a wheel is giving my goosebumps. Like I still have a driver's license, but I also can't tell if driving is like one of those skills where you only have to learn once and then you're good to go, kind of like riding a bike or swimming. And I'm honestly too scared to find out. But jokes aside, the thing that I'm actually like genuinely worried about is having the city be a lot more difficult to access once I move to the suburbs. Like a lot of the things I do and the places I frequent in my neighborhood aren't very car friendly. So if I were to leave the city, there's a good chance that I would rarely go back. I mean, I could tell myself that I just make the effort to go to the city, but let's be real, human nature is going to kick in eventually, and then I'm going to be making every excuse under the sun to not go into the city. This next reason, I'm going to include a trigger warning because I'm going to talk about body and food. So if that's something that you're not interested in, just skip to the next reason. If I were to leave the city, I'm just going to be fat. My diet and lifestyle are working in harmony to maintain this absolutely mid but healthy body. If I were to change up anything in my routine, the integrity of this temple will be in shambles. I get 10,000 steps a day by just existing in a city, and there are also like a bunch of gyms that are within a 6-block radius of me. Outside of hitting my protein goals for the day, I really don't have to think about what I put inside this well-oiled machine, which is fabulous because of all the great restaurants here. And I think this sentiment runs true for a lot of walkable cities. Take New York, for example. The average New Yorker's diet consists of carbs, grease, and the color beige, and their lifestyle allows for it, and they still look great. But for more car-centric cities like LA, for example, you have to make the conscious effort to work out and eat right just to maintain or achieve a certain physique, because walking isn't really integrated in the lifestyle. If I were to live in a more car-centric suburb, I wouldn't be getting 10,000 steps a day. And it would also be an uphill battle finding the motivation to go to a gym, because, I mean, even right now, if I have to like hop into any form of transportation, car, bike, bus, doesn't matter, the odds of me stepping into a gym is slim to none. Like, I'm sure you've heard of the freshman 15, but nothing ever prepares you for its shorter, lesser hot cousin, the suburb 70. It's always worth thinking about the worst case scenario for any situation. And for this situation, it'll be losing the reason why I moved to the suburbs in the first place, if I were to lose my job. If that's gone, then I'd have to deal with an apartment in an area that I never wanted to live in, a depreciating asset, more like liability on wheels that I'm on the hook for, and I'd have to do all of this in isolation because I'd be far away from everyone and everything that gives me comfort in life. Which makes me think that moving is not worth it. At least not yet. But maybe ask me again when I'm forced to go into the office 5 days a week. And with that, I'll end the video. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting that like button. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, hit that subscribe button. Also, down in the comments, let me know if you are team suburb or team city, and also reasonings to why you prefer one over the other. I'd love to hear your thoughts and continue this conversation. Any hoodles, thanks for watching. Toodles!